Hi everyone, welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. As you can see, I have some company today. This is Jock and he's just having a snooze, but he decided he wanted to do it in the cave beside me. So today, for day 8 of the 12 days of Cavemas, we are going to be having a flip through all of the colouring pages that I have completed in 2018. And I was actually quite surprised at how many there were. I didn't think I'd spent that much time colouring, but there you go. So I'm just going to gather all the books together and we can get going. Okay, I'm going to start with the Hanna Karlzon books. There are a lot more pictures than I thought there would be. I didn't think I'd done this much colouring over the space of a year, but there you go. So we have Mr. Frog here, and I did film a YouTube video for that. And it was for the pastel pencil background, but I ended up colouring him in on camera as well. And some of you may remember this one as well, which I did as a colour along as well. So that is in Summer Nights. I did this picture in Daydreams. And I wanted to keep that sort of nice antique-y feel, so I stuck with a really muted colour palette, and I was quite happy with the way that turned out actually. And here is Seasons, and the only thing I have done in this is the nameplate page, which I started when I was away on my wedding weekend, and I only did a tiny bit of it. I did like half of 2 of the flowers and that was it, I think, but I finished it off when I came back. And this is the only thing that I've done in this book. On to Imagimorphia by Kerby Rosannes. This was the picture I finished. And this, I just wanted to do something quite bright and cheerful, so I used quite a lot of bright colours for the fish and all the little bits and bobs. I've got some really nice shiny gel pen, some jelly roll pens on the starfish there. I hope you can see that in the light. It just gives a bit of texture, it's really nice. This was one of the pictures that I finished quite early on in the year, and that was part of a buddy colour for, at the time the group was Simple Art for Adults, which is now the Colouring Connection on Facebook. I just love this. This was the first Kirby picture that I coloured in its entirety. And he just looks so mean, it's so good. And I was so inspired after that, I thought I have to colour something else in this. So I actually went back and I did the nameplate page, and that took me forever. Like, it really did. It took a long time. I spent a lot of time. I think I spent something ridiculous like 3 hours just on the stones in the background. But again, it's one of those ones where I took my time over it and I'm really pleased with the outcome. I still haven't written my name in it right enough. And in Animorphia this year, most of you will be familiar with this one because we did this as a colour along as well, and it took forever. And we did it in lots of parts, and we took a lot of time over scales, but it's one of those ones where I'm satisfied that we took the time over it. I really like all the little Kirby creatures in it. It's the only time that I use neon pencil is when I'm colouring in the Kirby creatures, just because I don't really use neon pencils any other time. So it's nice to have somewhere to put them to use. My favourite's this little guy down here because he looks like a space hopper. Let's move on to Johanna Basford. This is World of Flowers, and again, you'll probably be quite familiar because this is a recent picture. This is the one I used to do limited palette colouring in the Colouring for Beginners series that I've done, and that is literally the only thing that I've done in this book. But again, this is quite a new book, so you know, that's going to happen. Johanna's Christmas, again, I've only started colouring in this year, and the first thing I did was the nameplate page, which was just a week or 2 ago. And I'm really pleased with this. I really like it. It's cosy and it's made me feel Christmassy. So Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. I did this page as a colour along with Colour with Claire. If you haven't checked out her YouTube channel, go and do that because she's awesome. And I did the opposing page as well. And I kind of wanted to pick some of the colours that we'd used here just so the pages kind of matched a little bit. So that was the idea behind that, because if I did a really pale page, I feel it would just have been really washed out compared to, you know, the one next door. This here is a list of all the colours that I've used in the pictures so far. Down here, for instance, this is the colours that I've used for Inky, and it's so that I can use them in future pictures and keep continuity because it is a storybook. So that just stays stuck to the inside cover all the time because I have a terrible memory. But not just that, it's sometimes a long period of time before I go back to a page. I also did this page as well. I'd already coloured in Inky, and that was way back last year. I did the border around this one to match. Again, I've used similar colours, and I used some really nice gold paint there just to sort of lift that and bring it out. And the last of my Johanna Basford books is Enchanted Forest. This is the very first colouring book I ever owned, and it was given to me by my grandmother. She was given it as a present, and because of her arthritis, she found that holding pencils and trying to get into the tight spaces was too much for her, and she asked me if I wanted it, so I took it off her hands. But this is my front to back project. I have started at the beginning and I will finish at the end. So this year, I need to find where I've got to. So this is the first page that I did this year, and I remember this, you know, very clearly, because this was around the time at the beginning of the year when I was going through a bit of a rough patch with my grandmother wasn't well, and she died, and also my dog had just passed away as well, so I really threw myself into this, and having a great big double page like this was perfect to take my mind off what was going on. This one I just wanted to have some fun with, and I decided on this kind of like pastel windows and, you know, this fun background, because I just wanted something to cheer me up a little bit. And another one, I called this the double page gauntlet because there's like 5 or 6 double page spreads in a row, and it gets to the point it's quite hard going. But I love these ones with all the little, you know, the little caves and everything, and I really like that. This was much quicker. Again, by this point I was kind of getting a bit fed up with the double pages. So this bottom section, this is all done in pastel, and I liked it because it gave me that nice mottled effect, so it made it look more like dirt. And added in some clouds just because it was very bare up there. And then we've got our little cave again down here, which I absolutely love. This one's so cute. And the last of the double pages, and again the same thing, it used pastel for the sky and down the bottom here, and then just took my time and coloured in this sort of ribbon. And it's just nice to add in the, you know, the extra parts, because if you just coloured in the bit in the middle, you'd be left with a lot of, you know, bare space. This was a colour along with Peter Hewitt, and this was one, Peter Hewitt was a huge influence on me when I started colouring, and I saw this colour along way back, and I thought, when I get to that page, it doesn't matter, you know, how experienced I am or if I've changed my mind on colours, I'm doing that colour along. So that's exactly what I did, and it's just turned out absolutely fab. She's such a good teacher as well. She's another one I highly recommend going and checking out her channel if you're into colouring. I'll leave all the links in the description for these people that I'm talking about so that you can go find them after you finish watching the video. Here we have Mr. Frog. He was great fun. Again, I used some nice metallic paint for the butterflies. And that was pastel pencil I used for this background. But again, it's turned out quite well. It kind of looks like fireflies. That was what I was going for. This was actually one of my favourites this year. When I first started it, and I did the water down the bottom here, I wasn't entirely convinced. And I thought, I think I've made a mistake. But the rest of the picture and incorporating those kind of pinky purples in here really changed that for me, and it is actually one of my favourite pictures in this book now. Over this side, I took those pinky purples and just sort of brought them over, and it was just, again, to keep a wee bit of cohesiveness, because I kind of feel that this part's quite joined together, you know, it's almost like the book is a journey, but I just feel that these are quite closely connected, so I felt that that was quite important. This picture is very deceiving. This picture took me longer than some of the double pages further back, and it's just because there's so much detail and there's so many different bits in it. So that was definitely a labour of love. And that is as far as we've got in here. So I actually don't have much left in this now until I get to these great big dragons at the end that are probably going to take me the rest of my life. But I am determined, even if I've never finished another colouring book in my entire life, I'm finishing this one. Obviously I've taken the dust jacket off and it is stored elsewhere because I don't want it getting ruined. When the book is finished, I will put it back on. So next up we have the books by Karolina Kubikowska, and the first one is Porridge Stroney Schnoo. and the picture that I've coloured in here was this flower. Now, I had to think about it. I did do a YouTube video on this. I couldn't remember whether I was just dreaming it or whatever, but I did. But I picked this one in particular because I really like the background. The paper looks as if it's textured, but it's actually printed on. The paper is smooth, but it looks knobbly bobbly, and I just really like that sort of idea and that effect. The other book by her that I have is Ticket to Dreams. And again, this was quite a recent one actually. And I just, at the very last kick, I need to find the picture. At the very last kick, I decided to go with my Inktense pencils rather than normal colouring pencils. And I started off by doing this owl. And I picked the Inktense pencils because of the black background, and I knew the colours would stand out really, really nicely. And what happened there was at this edge, there's some foliage, and it kind of goes on to the page next to it, so nothing would do, but I had to colour in this side as well. I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out though. I love the clouds and, you know, the way I've been able to sort of wash out the colour. So I'm really, really pleased with that, but this is just a lovely book as well. Really like her stuff. Next on the list, I have a bunch of Bennett Kleins. As most of you know by now, I am a huge Bennett Klein fan. He has squadillions of books, so most of his books I've only coloured maybe 1 or 2 pictures in. So this year, this is his original sketchbook, and this was the first one that I actually coloured in one of his books. When I first discovered him, I printed off some of his PDFs just to try out to see if I was going to be, you know, into it. But this was the first one I did in one of his books. The books are on CreateSpace paper, so the paper texture is really, really toothy. All of the pictures that I've done in these books, I have used a pencil blending medium with polychromos pencils, and it just helps to smooth out and work over the tooth of the paper. So although it does look really smooth, that is not a particular type of pencil. It's because I've used pencil blending medium. So this first one, I was really pleased with her eyes, the way they turned out. And I thought, yeah, I really like this. I want to do more of this. Colour My Sketchbook 2. This was a more recent one actually. I didn't do this all that long ago, and I just had to colour this one in because I've got a bit of a steampunk fixation. So this was like, when I flicked through this, I thought, yes, this is the first thing that's getting coloured. Again, I'm pleased with how this one turned out. Colour My Sketchbook 3. I don't remember what I've coloured in this one. See, Bennett has so many books and so many artworks, it's kind of hard to keep track of stuff. Oh, I remember this one. I was actually waiting on visitors coming and they were delayed by a couple of hours, so I thought I would just whip out some Bennett Klein, you know, and do a bit of colouring. So this was quite a quick one, and it was just to kind of pass the time. Colour My Sketchbook 4, I did this castle, and I was a bit kind of indifferent about this. I just felt it was a bit, I don't know, wishy-washy, is that the right word? I'm not dissatisfied with it. It still looks okay, but I think I could maybe have taken a bit more time over it and, you know, added a bit more detail and a bit more shading in. But still, sometimes you don't want to have something complicated. So this is the last one that I have, which is Mythic, and this is one of my favourites that I've coloured in his books. And you can see if I hold that up, look at his face, it's very shiny, and that's because I've used the blending medium on it. But I was just really pleased with the colour scheme and how this turned out. It looks quite sinister, but he looks like a badass. Okay, so I've just got a few other sort of more random ones now. The Disney Dreams collection by Thomas Kincaid. I have coloured the first picture in here, and that is Mickey and Minnie. I really struggle with this book because the artwork is Thomas Kincaid's original artwork, and it is all done in paint. And when you get the colouring page, number one, there's line work, so short of going over everything with like gel pens or paint pens, it's very difficult to achieve what you can see here. And a lot of people find it really intimidating because of that. And in this picture, I did use a lot of gel pen, and it was to cover up some of the line work. I mean, some places you can see that I didn't do it, like round the rock I didn't do it. But for example, Mickey's gloves, and the clouds as well, because the clouds looked really strange with all the black lines around them. So this took me quite a long time as well. And I'm kind of semi-happy with the results, but see, short of actually painting, you're never going to achieve what's going on this side, and I think you have to remember that. But I was still glad I did it, and there's loads of beautiful, beautiful paintings in this book, and it's one of these books where even if you don't colour in it, you've still got lots of lovely artwork to look at, and I really like that. And some of it harks back to my childhood. Some of the you know, the stills from the Disney movies are, I was too old to be interested in them at the time, but things like Bambi and Snow White were all the rage when I was a little one. So this is a really nice book, although to colour in, not so much. And this is Intricate Ink, Animals in Detail by Tim Jeffs, who is such a talented artist. Oh my god. This is one of these books where I kind of bought it more for the artwork. I mean, he's just so talented. And some of the pictures, there's a polar bear, like there's not much colouring to do. This is the one that I've done, and there we go. Strangely, I've got a date on this one as well. And I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so this is the one that I've coloured. This took me less than 20 minutes. Literally, it's a great book. If you want a quick fix and something that's going to satisfy you and it's going to look amazing, this book is the one for you. But see, there are some pictures in the book that I think I don't really know what I'm going to do with them. There's one of a zebra. It's like, yeah, not much colour in there. And there's a polar bear somewhere as well. I'm just trying to flick through it. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's not much you can do with this. You can still add a little bit in, but really... But the book itself is amazing, and as I say, if you're wanting a sort of quick fix that's going to be satisfying, this is the book. And the last book I have that I've coloured in 2018 is Serene by Nicholas Chandravianata, or Nick Filbert as he goes by sometimes. And this is another book that's just absolutely gorgeous. The artwork is amazing and he's such a talented guy. So this is the picture that I've completed in here. Now my idea with this was that I wanted to keep everything quite pale so that the colours in the tattoos would stand out. So that's why I opted for a grayscale background and just this very gentle gradient, and it's just allowed everything else to pop out. So I highly recommend this book. It's very satisfying to colour in this book. Although it's quite intricate, because it's such a large book, you have a lot of space to work in and you can get some really nice detail in there. And that is everything that I have coloured in 2018. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and it's been of some entertainment for you over the festive period. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already, and you can check out some of my other videos here. Feel free to drop me a comment in the box below, and we shall see you tomorrow for another day of Cavemas.